So guys, another week and we are back for some more transfer rumours. Let's jump into them. So guys, welcome back to the channel. Last week's transfer rumour roundup video went down really well with you guys, so we're back again to do it this week, and we've had a lot happening in the championship over the past week or so. If you didn't check out Monday's championship roundup video, make sure to go ahead and give that one a watch. Loads to digest over the weekend. Unfortunately, we've had another game called off ahead of the weekend as well, so touch wood, we're not going to have any more games suspended, but we're here today to talk about some transfer rumours. As always, if you guys have seen any others, get them in the comments down below and we can have a discussion about them. But without any further ado, let's talk about some rumours. And starting out with quite the interesting rumour as well, both Newcastle and Liverpool have been linked to Bournemouth defender Lloyd Kelly. Newcastle especially seem to have a real interest in the Bournemouth defender, obviously. The obvious link to make here would be Eddie Howe. He signed Lloyd Kelly for Bournemouth back in the day from Bristol City. Now he's looking to take him to St James's Park. However, despite Newcastle's interest reportedly being genuine, Bournemouth are not willing to listen to any offers for him in January. Now, Lloyd Kelly has been out recently with an injury for Bournemouth, and in that time I think they've missed him quite a bit. They do have, you know, people to come into the squad. You know, Cahill's been great, Steve Cook when he's had to come in. You've got some other youngsters as well, but Lloyd Kelly especially, when he's played this season, I think has been really impressive. Obviously came up through, I think, the ranks at Bristol City as a left back, but has more transitioned into that centre half now at Bournemouth. And English centre halves who are left footed, good on the ball, at a good age as well like he is, are always going to go for that premium sort of price. But understandably so, Bournemouth are desperate to keep hold of him, and to be honest, I think it probably would be the wise move for Kelly to stick it out with Bournemouth for the time being. You know, the situation that Newcastle find themselves in compared to where Bournemouth are in the Championship at the moment, I think that for him to properly evaluate his options, he's probably wisest to do that in the summer and sort of see how the rest of this season unfolds with Bournemouth, which looks like it'll be the case. Brentford are likely to let striker Marcus FORSS leave in the January transfer window on loan, and thus a whole host of Championship clubs have since been linked to him. Clubs like Fulham, Sheffield United, West Brom, Nottingham Forest, Stoke, Middlesbrough, and a few clubs in Germany and France as well. Throughout his Brentford career, really, Marcus FORSS has sort of made a name for himself of being that striker to sort of come in off the bench. You know, Ivan Toney was very much their main man last season, but FORSS still chipped in with 8 goals and an assist, with the vast majority of his appearances last season coming on from the bench. 32 substitute appearances last season for Brentford. And so far this season in the Premier League, his game time has been fairly restricted. He's only played 192 minutes so far, but did feature in their most recent Premier League match against Watford, in which he grabbed an assist. FORSS will be a terrific option though for several of those Championship clubs that were mentioned. Really good minutes to goals ratio in the Championship. He'd definitely be worth looking into for a few of those clubs, and his goal scoring record in the League Cup for Brentford this year has been excellent as well. 3 appearances, 5 goals and an assist. And to a striker who may be on his way out of the Championship, Joel Piroe has been linked with a move to Leicester City. Now, Swansea fans definitely won't be wanting to hear this. Piroe's been absolutely fantastic for Swansea so far this season. He's scored 11 goals, meaning that he's scored 42% of Swansea's total goals in the league so far this season. When you take into consideration as well that in terms of sort of shots per 90 in and around the box, Swansea haven't been great so far this season. I think they're 5th bottom at the moment for the fewest amounts of shots so far this season. Piroe just manages to score from like the most unlikely of angles, you know, inside the box, outside the box. He's got a ferocious shot on him, you know, can get some real power behind the ball. And so it's no surprise that a Premier League club would come knocking sooner rather than later. He's also got 4 assists alongside that as well. But you'd think that Swansea would be holding out for quite a sizable fee. You know, the player's just joined the club. I think they spent around the 1 million mark on him. The article that I saw quoted him as being worth around 10 million, but you'd think that Swansea would be holding out for quite a bit more than that. But yeah, top player Joel Piroe, no surprise to me that this Premier League interest has come up, albeit Swansea will be desperately trying to keep hold of him. And another Championship striker who's been linked with the Premier League move at the moment is Fulham's Alexander Mitrovic. Now, this one comes as no surprise. He's been absolutely terrific in the Championship so far this season and is on track at the moment to break all sorts of goal scoring records. 21 appearances, 22 goals and 5 assists is an absolute joke. Now, West Ham have been one of the clubs linked to Mitrovic. West Ham a little bit light for options up front at the moment. Obviously they've had quite the busy schedule so far this season as well, with European football now into the knockout stages of that as well, and they're very much in the hunt for the top 4 at the moment, so some reinforcements in January would make sense from from West Ham's perspective. Now, I've always found the argument that Mitrovic, you know, has been like, you know, great championship striker, but never quite could cut it at the Premier League level. I always thought that argument was a little bit harsh. You know, his first season with Fulham in the Premier League, he scored 11 goals and got 3 assists, which I think is a decent return for a side who ultimately really struggled that season. People will then point to last season where he only scored 3 goals in the Premier League, but I think there was other issues there at the club at the time. You know, him and Parker seemingly not seeing eye to eye. A lot of his appearances that season came from off the bench, and obviously this season he's been absolutely magnificent, as he always is, in the Championship. So I can certainly understand the interest, but you'd think that with Fulham in the current situation that they're in, with Mitrovic being so integral to their system, it would take some bid in January for West Ham to come in with for them to be tempted to sell. To be fair to West Ham as well, though, they do have quite the decent track record with investing in players from the Championship in years gone by. You know, we think to, you know, Jared Bowen and Said Benrahma, two of the most recent examples who have both gone on to do fantastically well for them. So I can definitely see where this link's come from, but another example of you'd think that Fulham would be demanding an absolute fortune. Blackburn have been heavily linked to Aberdeen's Ryan Hedges. They were linked with him previously in the summer, and it now looks like they're trying to strike up a pre-contract agreement with him so that he'll join the club for free next summer. He's only got 6 months currently left on his contract, and so heading into this January window, he's available to negotiate with clubs. This one seemingly looks like a deal which will tick a lot of boxes for Blackburn as well. His creative numbers have been decent so far this season for Aberdeen. He can play in a variety of positions, so could plug quite a few gaps. He can play across that forward line or deeper into midfield, centrally or out wide. 1 goal and 4 assists for him so far this season on a pre-contract agreement. Looks like a tidy bit of business. Rumour, the Edmonds-GREEN, has been linked to a whole host of Championship clubs recently, with the likes of Preston North End, Cardiff and Barnsley all mentioned for the young defender. Now, he's currently on loan at Rotherham from Huddersfield, and by all accounts is doing excellent on loan at Rotherham in League One at the moment. Obviously, Rotherham absolutely smashing it in League One at the moment. Best defensive record. They've only conceded 15 goals all season so far, and he's even chipped in with a few goal contributions as well, with 1 goal and 2 assists. He's been playing his football on the right hand side of the back 3 so far this season. Only 22 years old, and his defensive numbers have been really impressive. Now, Huddersfield will be wanting to keep hold of him. His contract does expire at the end of this season, but Huddersfield do have the option to extend that by another year, and you'd think that it would take quite the sizable bid for him to be permanently taken away from Huddersfield. You'd imagine that he'd be in and around their squad going into next season, but the interest is understandably there from quite a few Championship clubs, so we'll see if any concrete bids come in. Nottingham Forest have been linked to Aston Villa striker Keenan Davis. Now, we spoke about Nottingham Forest quite a bit on the last episode of the transfer rumour roundup, links to the likes of Dwight Gale and Adam Eder previously. Well, Keenan Davis is another one who has popped up on the radar. I think that we're going to see Forest being linked to a few players of a similar profile, you know, young Premier League players with the, you know, connections that Steve Cooper's got and the sort of track record that he's had previously at Swansea with developing these kind of players. This one will make a lot of sense. I think that Forest are undoubtedly going to be in the market for a striker come January. Their defensive record has been excellent since Steve Cooper has come in, and even with the upturn in form that, you know, Lewis Grobben's shown recently, they certainly could do with adding a little bit more depth in that area. Keenan Davis is an interesting one as well. You'd think that Villa would be happy to let him go out on loan. He's only played 11 minutes of Premier League football so far this season. I thought, to be honest, that a loan move to the Championship would have come sooner. I thought that they'd be willing to let him go out on loan last season, but it didn't seem to be the case. He's 23 years old now, though, and could do with playing regular first team football. I think there'll be quite a few Championship clubs who are in for him come January. Cameroon midfielder Jindo Fuchs has been linked to a couple of Championship clubs, with both Blackpool and Peterborough said to be interested. Wigan, another club who have been talked about, as well as Celtic and Rangers. He's currently playing his football in Scotland for Dundee United. Seems like a really sort of combative midfielder. I think he tops the list in the SPL at the moment for interceptions. He averages 2.3 tackles per 90. Certainly likes to get stuck in with the 6 yellow cards that he's picked up so far this season as well. But he's 24 years old, made a couple of appearances for his country, and his contract is expiring at the end of the season, so will be free to talk to clubs in January over a potential pre-contract. Stoke have been linked to Malmo defender Frans Brewersen. Interested to see what happens with this one. I believe his contract is up at the end of December, so will be available on a free transfer come January. Understandably so, Stoke might be looking to add a little bit more depth into this area with the long-term injury to Harry Souttar. Interested to see what happens with Leo Ostergaard in January as well, in terms of whether he's recalled or not. He wasn't even involved in the matchday squad last time out for Stoke. Hasn't played for them in the league since the 24th of November as well. So potentially a bit of movement could be happening there if this deal gets done. Coventry midfielder Gustavo Hamer is being linked to the Premier League at the moment, with Aston Villa being one of the clubs said to be interested. Steven Gerrard was at the, I believe, Coventry against Birmingham game. And obviously from then on, the link has come from there really. But yeah, Gustavo Hamer, I think, as soon as he signed for Coventry really, it didn't take Coventry fans long to realise that, okay, one day he probably will go on to play in the Premier League. On a good day, you'd probably put him up there as one of the best midfielders in the league, wouldn't you? But does have his, you know, patches of inconsistency still. I think this is the sort of scenario where if Coventry get the right fee and properly reinvest it back into the squad, then it might not end up being the worst possible situation in the world, but a lot of different factors to take into consideration for that one. Arsenal striker Florian Balogun has been linked to several Championship clubs, with the likes of Nottingham Forest, Middlesbrough, Bournemouth and Millwall all interested in the young Arsenal striker. Now, he's been on real form in the Premier League 2 for Arsenal, scoring 15 goals already. Obviously, it's always a hard thing to grasp, you know, Premier League 2 football compared to the Championship. I remember we had a, you know, similar occurrence with someone like Troy Parrott recently, you know, when he was absolutely lighting it up at that level, but in the Championship didn't quite happen for him. But by all accounts, he's set to be a real hot prospect at Arsenal. And you can see the thought process behind all those clubs, you know, wanting to go in for a striker and why he might go to, you know, each of them really. We've already spoken about Forest and their other links because of Steve Cooper. Middlesbrough now with Chris Wilder in there. Millwall already have that established relationship with Arsenal because of the Daniel Ballard loan deal, which has gone well for them so far this season, and Bournemouth, you know, understandably so. Why wouldn't the player want to go there at the moment? We could see Swansea going back in for Tariq Fosu come the January transfer window. They had a loan deal which collapsed in the final hour of deadline day, which meant that ultimately they didn't get him in when they would have liked to in the last transfer window. But since then, he's not played any football for Brentford, and so seemingly will be available for a move come the January transfer window. And I think will be a decent fit into this Swansea side, you know, with the way they play, Piroe up top and then the two sort of number 10s operating off him. Certainly one that I wouldn't be surprised to see coming back up in the next few weeks. And sticking with Swansea, it's looking like they're going to be going in for a couple of MK Dons players in the January transfer window, with goalkeeper Andy Fisher on the radar, as well as central defender Harry Darling. Obviously, after shipping 4 goals at the weekend, no surprise that they're looking into this sort of area to strengthen their options. 2 players as well that Russ Martin has previously worked with at MK Dons. There we have it though, guys. That will wrap it up for today's transfer rumour roundup video. If you did go in to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do stick around for some regular Championship content. Get all your thoughts in the comments down below about all the rumours that are currently going around. But apart from that, thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.